The Pixel 7a and Poco F5 might be the best mid-range phones of 2023, and they're clearly improvements over last year's models, but they're still very different phones for very different people. I'll explain in this Pixel 7a versus Poco F5 comparison. First off, which is faster? Definitely the Poco F5, but both are still pleasingly quick. Neither device packs top-tier flagship hardware, but they still speed through opening apps, navigating the interface, and unlocking with their fingerprint sensors. The Poco's side-mounted sensor is faster, but for me, I still prefer the Pixel's in-display reader. The 7a runs Google's Tensor G2 processor with 128 gigs of UFS 3.1 storage and 8 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM, while the F5 runs the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2 processor with 256 gigs of storage and 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. You'll still find both slow down with some more intense tasks like demanding games at higher settings, but they generally perform well, as the 3D Mark Wildlife and Geekbench scores show. And here's the first big difference. The Poco F5 can absolutely outperform the Pixel in gaming, particularly when gaming for a long time. Though the 7a has improved in terms of thermal throttling versus the 6a, it still throttles pretty hard, and the Poco can maintain great performance for longer before it throttles, as the 45-minute CPU throttling test and 20-minute wildlife stress test show. Which has the better screen? I'd say the F5. The Poco's 6.67-inch AMOLED display running at 120Hz with a peak brightness of 1000 nits looks very good. The 7a also looks good with its smaller 6.1-inch OLED with a slightly higher peak brightness, even though it runs at a slower 90Hz refresh rate. Both look sharp with full HD plus resolutions and are pretty easy to see outdoors, but the larger size, smaller bezels, and higher touch sampling rate of 240Hz really help the F5 win, especially for gamers. Plus, the Poco has the stronger screen protection from its Gorilla Glass 5 compared to the 7a's older Gorilla Glass 3. What about the cameras? Of course, this is where the Pixel strikes back. I took a lot of photos with the 7a's camera, the stock Poco camera, and a Gcam port on the Poco as well. And essentially, the F5's camera looks fine when conditions are perfect, but it does tend to over-brighten, and its images lack the dynamic range of the Pixel. Selfies from the rear camera are pretty close, but selfies from the selfie camera look rough on the F5. Also, the Poco can struggle with night mode shots, although it did a decent job with this fire hydrant. If this video's been helpful so far, please give it a like, and thank you. Video is another win for the Pixel. Its footage is better stabilized and doesn't have this rippling problem like the F5. It also constrains highlights and properly stabilizes the selfie camera. Alright, here is the selfie camera from the Pixel 7a. Alright, here is the selfie camera from the Poco F5. For audio quality, both phones have stereo speakers and sound good, but I think the Poco is noticeably louder and more harsh. I didn't have any issues with Bluetooth pairing, and the F5 brings back the headphone jack this year, unlike the Pixel. How about the batteries? Another big win for the F5. Both batteries get you through at least a full day, but I'm getting almost a day and a half from the Poco with its larger 5000 mAh battery, but only a day from the Pixel's 4385 mAh cell. And if you want to charge up quickly, the F5's 67-watt included charger will fill the device from 1% to full in about 40 minutes, compared to the 7a's slow 18-watt speed that takes about an hour and 40 minutes to charge. It does have wireless charging though, unlike the Poco, but sadly no charger in the box. What about the software experience? Well, if you're looking for a clean yet feature-full OS that's easy to navigate, the Pixel 7a is a great choice. Google's own flavor of Android 13 on the Pixel is definitely one of my favorites. There are also lots of Pixel-only features like Magic Eraser and a few different calling services that are truly excellent if they're available in your country. And at the time of recording, the 7a has received a few updates and I haven't noticed any bugs. The F5's MIUI 14 for Poco version of Android is just fine. It's not as clean as the Pixel, but it's super colorful and has lots of features. I'm still annoyed that you can't use a third-party launcher like Nova with gesture navigation like you can on Realme, Samsung, OnePlus, and Pixel devices, and the privacy agreements for their pre-installed stock apps are disappointing. Why does the calculator app need my data? But my real problem with the Poco F5 is a connectivity issue with my carrier in the US. T-Mobile might just need to make some adjustments to provision the F5 for voice over LTE, but at the time of recording, it's basically unusable for network calls. At least it can connect over 2G for voice, even though quality is pretty terrible. Also, the VoLTE icon just keeps blinking like it's trying to connect, but it doesn't. I tried with my SIM for 48 hours when I first got the F5, and then again about a week later, and I did have VoLTE for an hour before I lost all network connectivity for voice or data. This could just be a problem with my device, especially since both T-Mobile and Mint Mobile claim the F5 is compatible. But besides that, Poco did reduce the amount of bands the F5 supports compared to the F4. And unfortunately Band 12 was dropped, which is a large part of the network in my region, and it's also important for AT&T users. The Pixel has had zero connectivity issues, and hopefully my Poco problems will work out soon. Both devices launched with Android 13, and the Pixel will receive 3 years of OS updates and 2 additional years of security patches, which is much better than the F5's 2 OS updates and just another year of security patches. The Pixel will also probably get those updates much quicker than the Poco. Some final notes: the haptics are fine on both. The Pixel has a higher IP rating than the Poco, and though the F5 has much thinner bezels compared to the Pixel, its flat sides are less comfortable to hold. So which is the best for you? If you're a gamer, watch a lot of content on your phone, or value fast charging, then the Poco is a great device. If you're all about the best photo quality and overall better software experience, want a smaller device, or you absolutely have to have wireless charging, then the 7a is a wonderful choice. Or the Pixel 7, because it's often the same price. Either way, the Poco F5 and Pixel 7a are excellent phones in this price range. And if you're interested in these phones, you should check out Wireless Place, since they have Google and Poco devices, as well as phones from Xiaomi, Samsung, OnePlus, and more. I've bought a few phones from Wireless Place, and they always ship fast, even internationally, and have great prices. Please use my discount code PC10 when you check out, if you want to support the channel or just want to save a little money. A link to the site is in the description. Please subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And if you want to know more about the Poco F5's camera, check out my camera test right here, and feel free to comment with any questions you might have, and I will answer them perfectly after I read the terms and conditions on my F5 just to change the wallpaper.